Welcome back to Purpose Driven Church for Unificationists. We are finishing the chapter on turning members into ministers. And Rick Warren has just been using this last part of the chapter to really give a lot of practical advice on how to empower people to be ministers and how to do ministries and how to do it in a way that they can be successful. And so, he's emphasizing in this section about providing support. He says, don't expect people to succeed without support. Every lay ministry requires an investment of some kind. So he just kind of goes into different ways you can support lay ministries. Providing material support, they need access to copy machines, paper, various materials and resources, telephone, and most likely space to rent, or space to meet, sorry. He says, we consider lay ministers as important as paid staff. Providing space tells people what you are doing is important. Providing communication support, so making sure that there can be a way to communicate between the lay pastors and yourselves. Providing promotional support, making sure that your ministries are visible to the congregation. I've seen this at some larger churches where they've had like booths and tables where people can see where the different ministries happening around the church. So he's talking about that here, having a table set up in your auditorium or foyer for people to see what's available, or rotate ministries if there's not enough space. Give name tags so people can see what they're involved in. Have a ministry fair twice a year. Print brochures or publish articles on different ministries if you have a newsletter. And also just talking about them in your sermons and using testimonies on how this particular ministry has made a difference in someone's life. That can be really great as well. And then just providing moral support also, expressing appreciation both publicly and personally to those who serve in the church, and even planning special events such as appreciation banquets or leadership retreats to reward your core group of ministers. He uses the term a lot, lay minister or lay ministry in the church in this book, and he does that because he wants people to know that there's he's not referring to paid staff. At the same time, he doesn't really like the term because sometimes people can look at that lay minister versus like a regular minister as kind of almost like a different class or like a second class form. He says second class form of citizenship and competence. For example, would you like a lay doctor operating on you or a lay lawyer defending you? There's a point there. However, he's saying that from the biblical point of view, there are no lay people. There are only ministers. The idea of two classes of Christians, clergy and laity, is the creation of the Roman Catholic tradition. In God's eye, there is no difference between volunteer ministers and paid ministers. We should treat those who serve without pay with the same respect we treat those who are paid for their service. And then he talks about the importance of renewing the vision regularly. We talked about this earlier in the book, of how about once a month people have to have their vision renewed. And he just says that always keep the vision of the ministry as the primary focus. Never use guilt or pressure to motivate people. It's vision that motivates. Guilt and pressure only discourage people. Help people to see that there's no greater cause than the kingdom of God. That's why they focus so much on these meetings that they have every month, the SALT meetings. He says if he's feeling sick, he doesn't hesitate to give up, ask someone else to give the sermon on Sunday, or like 4 people, even if it's 10,000 people in the crowd. But he will not miss the SALT meeting. It's the most important meeting of his role. It's his opportunity to reemphasize the privilege of serving Christ, he says. He says, I've often said to the members of our congregation, imagine dying and 50 years from now somebody in heaven comes up to you and says, I want to thank you. You reply, I'm sorry, I don't think I know you. Then they explain, you were a lay minister at Saddleback. You served and sacrificed and built a church that reached me for Christ after you died. I'm in heaven because of you. Do you think your effort is worth that? He says, if I knew a more significant way to invest my life than in service for Jesus Christ, I'd be doing it. There's nothing more important, so I make no apology for telling people that the most important thing they may do with their lives is to join Saddleback Church, get involved in a ministry, and serve Christ by serving others. The effect of their ministry for Christ will outlast by far their career, hobby, or anything else they do. The church's best kept secret is that people are dying to make a contribution with their lives. We are made for ministry. The church that understands this and makes it possible for every member to express his or her shape in ministry will experience amazing vitality, health, and growth. All right, well, thank you so much, and see you tomorrow.